Hi, and welcome to Free Advice Friday. My name is Carrie Ray Barnum. I am the Executive Director of New Shelves Books, and we are here to talk about publishing, marketing, and the business of being an author. We meet every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, and you are certainly welcome to join us live to ask your questions. It's newshelves.com/FAF. And we do meet every Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We've got a lot of questions this week, a lot to cover. So anyone who's on our mailing list and our newsletter list would have gotten an email from me earlier this week talking about some glitches at Amazon. It is widespread knowledge that Amazon has fallen face first into some computer problems, glitches, and just issues this month in October. Some of the things that we have been seeing is terminated accounts. Now, what happened is that Amazon was trying to get rid of spam accounts that were stealing copyrighted material and trying to republish it, accounts that were going against terms of service in their book publishing. So they're either publishing low content books that didn't actually make sense or just all sorts of different things. And so rightfully so, they were trying to cull those accounts and get rid of them. Unfortunately, what we saw happen is that many people's accounts were wrongfully suspended or terminated. I have personally seen people who their accounts were closed and the letter they got stating why their account was being terminated was for a book and an author that was not published through their account. It was something completely different. It wasn't close in title. It didn't look the same, and it wasn't even close to the same. I don't know. I don't know how the glitch happened and how it led to that, but so we did see that. Quite a few accounts were either suspended or terminated, and it was wrongful. It was not something that the author or that KDP publisher actually did. So a lot of people have been fighting to get their accounts back because not only were they told that their accounts were being terminated, but that they were not going to be paid any royalties that were not paid out yet that were due. And for some people who do this as a living, that was a pretty big sum. And even for those who don't necessarily write as a full-time job, it's still your royalties. And so people have really been fighting back on that and hopefully seeing some help there. Another thing that we saw is we saw prices on books. I personally did not see it on any Kindles. I did see it on paperbacks and hardcovers. The price from Amazon, not a third party, but the price from Amazon skyrocketing. I personally have a client whose book was being sold by Amazon for $17.90. This book is listed through KDP for $12.99. So almost a $5 increase that it was being sold on Amazon by Amazon, not a third party, by Amazon. And the problem with that is, number one, that hikes up a book. I saw a children's book that's usually like $10 being listed for $29. That's going to hurt your sales. So that's one issue. But technically, Amazon does have the right to increase a book's price if need be, if they feel it's verified. However, the agreement between KDP and a publisher is that the publisher will receive 60% of the retail price minus print fees as royalty. So that means that if I have a book up, I'm going to grab my calculator because you guys know me, I can't do math. So if I have a book up and let's say it's $12.99, then I need to take 60% of that, which is $7.79. And then let's say that the print cost of that book is $2. That means that my royalty on that book from KDP should be $5.79. So it's 60% minus the print cost. However, if that $12.99 book gets hiked up by Amazon and they're selling it at a retail of $17.90, if that book is still selling because I've been marketing it or I'm running Amazon ads or whatever it may be, if that book is still selling, I should be getting a 60% royalty off of the $17.90. So again, handy dandy calculator because I don't math. That means that my royalty is $10.74 minus my $2 printing cost. That's $8.74. This is almost a $3 difference in royalty. And what was happening is Amazon was increasing the price for retail, not on purpose, guys. This was a glitch, but the price was increasing. They were still selling the book, but the author and the publisher through KDP were not getting an increased royalty. They were still being paid at that lower rate. And that is really the big problem, is that KDP was not really following through on the royalty agreement. So not only did they raise the price of the retail of the book, but also they were not paying the correct royalty based on that price hike. Now, I want to reiterate, this is something that was, it was a glitch. No one went in. This was not malicious as far as I can tell, or I've heard. It was a glitch. The problem is that it was a glitch, and unless you're reporting it, there's no paper trail. So it's really important that you look at the price of your retail sales so that you can get it fixed. Now, that example I just gave you where the $12.99 books listed for $17.90, that happened to one of my clients that I work with. I saw it on Wednesday night. I went into that account and used the contact us button and wrote into KDP about the price increase and the fact that the royalties had not changed. I just checked that book this morning and it's back to its normal price. So they are working to correct it, but I will tell you, I'm sure they eventually will get this glitch fixed. But the people who put in a ticket through KDP to get their pricing fixed are the ones who will get it fixed the quickest. And again, this is not the same as a retailer who decides to sell your book for less. That's completely different. This is not a third party who may be selling your book for more. This is when it's coming directly from KDP and Amazon, and they are increasing the price. So that's another thing that we were seeing. And then we're seeing category rankings. I had an email from Nancy, a friend and client, last night going, my book that has been ranked in a number 3 in category for 7 years suddenly isn't even in the top 100. What's going on? Are my sales that bad? What happened? And I would actually love to show you guys this, because this is what's happening as just another example of the glitches over at Amazon. Now, this glitch is something that even if you report, I don't think they're going to fix as quickly, because this has to do with ranking, not so much their contract and money. Their ranking system, they have a little more leeway in order to do what they want, because it's their playground. But I do think it will get fixed up. Let me just find this link so I can share my screen with you all. So the reason why I'm sharing this is not to poo-poo on Amazon. It's not anything like that. It's because I literally had well over 30 emails this week about these issues and these problems on Amazon this week. And so I figured it was probably easier to address them overall. So the book in question here is the Joe Rubenstein story. And this book is an amazing memoir of Joe Rubenstein. And this has been in the top of the Holocaust memoir list right over here, Holocaust biographies. It's been in the top 10 for like 7 years. It's a great book and it sells really regularly. And suddenly it's not on here at all. It is not even once on this list. And when you look at it, I thought it was really interesting because the way ranking works goes by overall Amazon ranking and then in categories. So if we look at the Joe Rubenstein story and we look at the ranking, his rank in book overall is right at 78,000. So 78,000 overall. If we go over here to the book in the 5th place on this bestseller list and I click on it, and these numbers have been steady. I was looking at this last night. So this is not like, man, it hasn't updated. This has been going on for a little while. So if we come over here to the book Let It Go, which is number 5th on this list that Joe is no longer making. He's no longer being calculated as a bestseller. And we go down to the category list. Boop, boop, boop. Right down here, this book is at 186 78,000. This is more than 100,000 places behind Joe's story in the number five spot, and it's not in there at all. So that is just a glitch. And unfortunately, of course, you can ask Amazon. It's not going to be their top priority right now, not with people talking about royalties and payments and contracts. But just know, if you're seeing this, it stinks. It truly does. You didn't do anything. If your sales are consistent, I wouldn't worry too much. I would expect this to kind of update. Now, what you can do just to make sure that your categories haven't changed is you can go in through either Author Central or KDP, and you can request that they send you a list of the categories that your book is in for each format, to make sure that for some reason your book didn't come out of a category for some reason. But otherwise, again, it's just one of those things. This book is at 78,000. It's definitely above this book, and it should be on the Holocaust biographies list, but it's not. And again, there's not much we can do about it, but I wanted you guys to see that just as something that is happening out there on Amazon. And I've had follow-up emails about all sorts of things on Amazon, but I just want to let you know these things are happening. They are being worked on. And if you have specific questions, feel free to let me know. But the best thing you can do for yourself is go on to your KDP account and go and use the contact us button, put in a help ticket. That way there is a paper trail. So if you have to go back because something's not getting fixed, there is a paper trail. They can see that you've already contacted them. And if indeed you are owed more royalties because your book is selling at a higher price than people are really being paid on, there's a date, a actual date, a ticket, a paper trail of when that should have started, because otherwise they're going to say, oh, well, it was just today. And unless you are actually able to track it, it's not going to happen. So that's one of the things. Create a help ticket, create a paper trail. And also that's a great way to be able to follow up, because that information goes into the system so that the next person you talk to or call, you can follow up there. Yes, Denise, you do see on here, let me share my screen again. Denise is asking about the blue button under the book that says find reviews. This is not new. This is software I have on my computer. And this is software that helps find reviewer information. It pulls like the accounts that are leaving reviews, so you can see the review profile. It helps with categories and keywords. It is a bit like Publisher Rocket, so I do think that they're a little bit different. I think they complement each other. Most people have Publisher Rocket. That's pretty much all they'll really need, but this is, I'm sorry, no, I said that right. Publisher Rocket, and then this one is different. So I have two of them simply because I do a lot of this stuff and I find it helpful, but that's what it is. It's not on Amazon. It's an add-in from my computer. All right. All right. Let's see. I heard that if Amazon is acting as a third-party seller, they purchase the book through Ingram or other printer, the author only gets royalties based on the agreed upon price with the printer. Is that correct? That sure is correct, because your agreement is not with Amazon and KDP. So it's for this reason that I recommend to most authors, especially if they have like a novel or something that's not heavy in color, I recommend that you go to Ingram Spark and you print your book on demand on Ingram Spark for Ingram Wholesale. But I also recommend that you go to KDP, you upload your book there, and you sell your book through KDP directly to Amazon for Amazon sales. So what happens is when you have the book up on both KDP and Ingram Spark, KDP will immediately push the KDP book in front of the Ingram Spark book, because KDP and Amazon, they're owned by the same company. So what happens is they actually make more profit off of that. So it behooves them to put the KDP print book prior to the Ingram Spark book. But if you do not have that, let's say you have a children's book and it's printed in 4-color and you only have it up on Ingram Spark, and Ingram Spark is getting it over to Amazon for Amazon sales. If that is the case, then your agreement is through Ingram Spark, and your payment will be based on Ingram Spark sales, not on KDP's profit or royalty system, because you're not using KDP for print. So that is correct if they are actually selling as a third party. All right. You're welcome. All right, let me go through my emails because again, I had a couple more questions. One thing I just wanted to point out is if you are a contemporary romance author, I just got an email from Hidden Gems, which is the review system that I personally really like as a very affordable way to get your book out for review. Hidden Gems had some cancellations or people who need to shift their books for October. So Craig said that they will be having some spots open probably for contemporary romance. So if you are looking for reviews for your contemporary romance book, I highly recommend that you contact Hidden Gems. I'll drop the link in here because they might have spots open. And I will tell you, otherwise, I have someone was just trying to get a nonfiction Hidden Gem spot, and they had to book out to October 2023, a full year away. So typically these book out very far, but they have some last minute spots if you're looking to up your reviews for contemporary romance. So I wanted to let everyone know that. And Eileen's asking, where can I advertise my newsletter outside of my website and social media? How do I get my newsletter out? So there are a couple ways you can do this. You can advertise your newsletter by doing newsletter swaps with other authors. So that way you're kind of giving exposure that way, where you have that author featured in your newsletter and you ask that they feature your newsletter in their newsletter, and that way you can kind of share signups and try to get people to sign up that way. You also can try and see if your newsletter is something that would really be great for a specific group. If it's something that I don't know, if you have a newsletter that is just fantastic with cartoons and it's very child friendly, see if you can get it featured in something else that goes towards children, a teacher's newsletter or a teacher's blog or a library blog or something like that. So think of who your audience is and where they might be hanging out online, and then see if you can get in there. Sometimes it's very inexpensive. I've seen some advertisements on websites and blogs and things for like 15, 20 bucks, and you never know unless you ask. And sometimes you'll ask if there's advertising opportunities or if you can do a swap, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll just do it for free. I'm happy to. So you never know unless you ask, but you have to go find people who complement you in your newsletter or who could benefit from you in your newsletter. And then you simply have to ask and just get right in there. Let me see. We already talked about the category issue. I'm going to save that one. All right, I will use no names here, but I am going to say, because it came up, the question of shady publishers, often for-profit publishing, paid for publishing, we often will call these vanity presses. Sometimes they're associated with hybrid presses. But I had a question this week, or more of a warning, from an author who said, this company stole my book. I have zero control of my work. I can't even reach my publisher because they are stealing my money, even though different places are selling the book, be advised. And this is something that's been big in the industry, been talked about a lot in the industry over the last several months. It really started with a report that came out about hybrid publishing in, I believe it was March of this year. And this report came out from two combined writers guilds talking about hybrid publishing and talking about how it is a scam. And we had a lot of people on both ships. We had people who said if you have to pay to publish your own work, it's not worth it. It's a scam. Then we had people who said, whoa, 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 sometimes you want to be in control of your publishing. And you guys know I have always said there's no wrong or right way to get published, in the sense that I advocate for professional product, for professional publishing, and publishing with your goals in mind. I have had clients who say, hey, my goal is to get my book, have it everything I dreamed of being, get it in my hands before I die. Hey, we can do that. I have had people who say, I want to make the New York Times bestseller list or the USA Today bestseller list. I've had clients who say, I want to quit my full-time job, and that is their goal. And that's why whenever I get on a call with an author, I start with that. What's your goal with your book? What's your goal with your writing? Because depending on your goal, there are different paths to publishing that will make sense for you. If you really want the traditional publishing route, well, then that's one thing. But if you want control and you want to see all the profit and you don't mind putting in the work and the effort, well, then indie publishing can be for you. If you want a book in your hands, you've tried the traditional publishing route, you know it's not going to happen. Do you still want that book and you still want it out there, but you don't have the time or the know-how on how to publish your book? Then paying to get your book published or subsidizing the cost of your book may be an option for you that fits your goals. And I think that's fine. I think there have been some great books that started out hybrid published or that are still in a form of hybrid published. We actually see a lot of the indie authors who have made it big and they have big names. They realize that if they're going to continue writing at the rate that they need to keep on pumping out books, they no longer could have the full-time job of indie publishing their books. So they've gone to a hybrid publisher. But then there's this sector that we often call vanity press. And these are the people who give it a bad name because they are out there. Let's be honest. I am a huge advocate of the Ally Watchdog list because they really vet for this. And these companies, what they do is they are for-profit publishing companies who will take literally any book, they will take it. They will charge massive sums to publish the book. And honestly, it's subpar. They say they edit the book. It's not really edited. They do a cover, but it's not to market. They don't do any marketing. It's really not something, when I talk about professional publishing, that's not what comes to mind. Or maybe it comes to mind in a negative way. And oftentimes they charge huge sums. They tend to work with seniors very often, unfortunately. And when I say huge sums, we're talking anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 to put a book together. It is not really professionally edited. Again, I'm not impressed with the design of it, and they do absolutely no marketing. And then they will upsell on marketing, which can often cause it's another $5,000 to $30,000 depending on the company. These people are the ones that end up on those watchdog lists who don't have good names, that are something you should be wary of. And so again, this has come up. Jane Friedman was blogging about it. It is something that Jane Friedman had been blogging about. It has shown up in this report. But unfortunately, like I said, what happened is hybrid publishing really got lumped in with the vanity press. And so when I got this email this week, it really reminded me to speak to that. And we did have Tara Alamany, who is a hybrid publisher. She's been a longtime member of Free Advice Friday. She actually wrote an article for the New Shelves blog speaking to this and the differences and what to watch out for. IBPA, after this article, came out with a big checklist of the things that you should ask a publisher in order to protect yourself if you're going to go hybrid published. And there's also this really interesting panel of 4 hybrid publishers that Tara put together. It's linked in the blog, of 4 hybrid publishers talking about how many books they publish a year, what they look for when they're publishing, the people they say no to, how much it costs, how much it costs them, what they get out of it, why they do it. And I thought that this conversation was really interesting because they were very candid in that it's paid, it's subsidized, it's paid for publishing, and that's how they do it. But they also went into why and what they get out of it, and they were honest about it. Even New Shelves here, when we market books, I always get asked, well, you charge a fee? Absolutely, I do. I'm doing work. I have kids to feed and they eat a ton. So absolutely, I get paid for my work, but I feel like I can stand behind it and be proud of it. And I think that's the difference. For anyone on this call or watching the replay who maybe has gotten into publishing with someone that falls in the former category, that kind of not working out, not what you hoped for. If you're having a problem getting in touch with your publisher, or if you would like your rights back, that's the best thing that you can do for yourself. If you decide you still believe in your book, you'd like to get it published, or you at least would like to own the rights, the best thing you can do is check your contract to see how long it lasts, and also to check for a clause for breaking or getting your rights back. And then there is a process for requesting your rights back so that they have to actually stop selling your book and you get your rights back. So if you would like to go to a different reputable hybrid publisher, or if you would like to self-publish, or simply just have your rights back, you can do that. And so again, highly recommend, if you're having problems, go check out the Ally Watchdog list. And for anyone thinking about publishing, you're not getting picked up by traditional publishing, but indie just sounds like a lot of work to you and you're not quite there, I highly recommend that you check out that blog that I just posted. If you go to the New Shelves website, it's the first blog up there. You can search hybrid publishing, because again, it's got a list of things that you could check for and should check for in order to vet a hybrid publisher to make sure that it's a right partnership for you. And I think that's something that's really important. And I think it's something we talk about, but it tends to be, when people talk about the subject, I've seen it so often that we either have the traditional side of publishing really down talking anyone who's not with like the big five or a big traditional publisher, or we have hybrid publishers or vanity press really smacking back. And I think that we need to see all views. I am very much a proponent of making decisions based on information and a really rounded view. And so I think that's important when you're looking at it. Now, if you just want a book printed and you want to pay someone $5,000 to put your book together and print it because you know you're not capable and you want it done for your family, that's cool, as long as you go with your eyes wide open. So again, I think that's very important. If you have more questions about that, again, feel free to ask me anytime. Let me see. And again, I had someone else this week who had, they had indie published their own book, and they said, well, I put it up on Ingram Spark. I ordered 50 copies and they're still selling it. It's still up on Amazon. Well, if you indie published your book, if you self-published your book and you put it up on KDP or Ingram Spark, or let's say you put the ebook up on Smashwords when Smashwords was like the hot thing for ebooks, that stays up until you take it down. So if your book is still selling, you self-published and you don't want it to, go check your old accounts. I had someone who didn't even realize they had a Smashwords account because it was so old and their book was still up through Smashwords and it was causing problems with Kindle Unlimited. So if you are indie or self-publishing, that book is alive until you take it down. You actually have to request that it become unpublished or they stop distributing it. So just know that no one's trying to fleece you over. It just stays up until you take it down. There's no like expiration on that. Let me see, a question about PCIP and price barcode. All right, Val, we've convinced Val that she needs a PCIP block and a price barcode for her self-published book, which she did not have when she originally published that book back in April. Now she's ready to move forward and get those things done in order to appeal to booksellers and libraries more. So the question is more about, now that my book is published, it does not have a PCIP block, it does not have a price barcode. How do I go about remedying that? Now, what are the logistics? So this, fortunately, is pretty darn easy. For your PCIP block, the first step is simply going and getting your cataloging done. I personally recommend the Cassidy cataloging group. I get no kickback from them. It's just the company I use. Connie, who works over there, used to work at Donahue, and I think she's fantastic. So I'm going to link that here. Cassidy cataloging, again, is who I use. So you go and you submit for your PCIP, which creates the record in the OCLC in the Sky River system for libraries. Then, of course, you want to get it into your copyright page. So the step there would be, if you went and had an interior designer, you would send it to them. Once you get the block, Cassidy will send you a Word document that says, hey, this is your block, just needs to go into your copyright page exactly like this. So you would send that to your interior designer. If you designed the book yourself, you would input it, and then you'd save your new file. Now, for your book cover, you have two options. You can go back to your book cover designer and ask that they create a price barcode for you. However, it is very easy to create your own price barcode. You can do it on the computer with about 10 minutes. I have a video on how to do that. It is very easy, and I recommend that you learn how to do it yourself if you can and have interest. I'll drop that link in here. And the reason why I recommend you learn how to do it yourself is because what if paper prices go up and you've got to change that price barcode again? What if you put the book at $12.99 now, but then prices go up and you realize you've got to put them up to $14.99? Are you going back to your designer? And is your designer going to charge you? Because sometimes they do. And 25 bucks may not seem like a lot, but if it's 25 bucks and then you decide you got to put the price up, or you can pay another 25. So if you are willing, I dropped the YouTube video for anyone watching the replay. Just go into YouTube, go into the New Shelves channel and search price barcode, and you can learn how to make your own price barcode. Lots of people are doing this. There's over 2,000 views on this video. So it's obviously a popular topic that you can do. It's easy. If I can do it, you can do it. I promise. And then the logistics of, okay, you've got your updated interior file, you've got your updated cover. Now what do you do? Again, really easy. You go into KDP, you go into the setup of your book, and you upload your new files. You go through the process, and then you go all the way through the end, clicking continue after you get your new files and view them and blah, blah, blah. Make sure that on the upload page for KDP, there's a little box under your cover that says, I have my own price barcode. And you need to make sure to check that, or else you'll have your barcode with an Amazon barcode stamped over it. So make sure you check that. Click all the way through until you hit the publish button. You must hit that publish button, or else the changes don't take effect. As soon as Amazon processes those files and accepts them, anyone who orders the book after that, they'll use the new files to print the book, and it will have the new information in it. Now, Ingram Spark is very much the same. You go to Ingram Spark to upload your new files. The difference is that Amazon does take your book offline for selling during the upload process. So I would not recommend doing this right in the middle of pitching to a bookstore or pitching to a library, because your book will be down for a couple days. But if you're gearing up and you haven't done it yet, don't worry about it. It's really just a couple days. So you upload your files. There is a $25 revision fee. Now, if you are a member of Ally, if you are a member of IBPA, if you're signed up for the 20 Books Conference, you do get free upload and revision codes. So then it will cost you nothing. Just make sure you use it. But so you upload those files. Your book comes offline for sale until that file, the new files, are submitted and approved. Once they're submitted and approved, really important, don't submit it, forget to check back and not approve it for 2 months. Once it's approved, same thing. Your book is now back up online with the new updated files. Any books printed after that would include the new barcode, and it would include the new PCIP block that you put inside. Do keep in mind that this happens fairly quickly, but Ingram Spark does push out a lot of their metadata, like their updated pricing, and a lot of their metadata gets pushed out to retailers on Fridays. So I highly recommend that if you're changing anything on your book at Ingram Spark, you try to get it done around Tuesday to Thursday, because that way your update will take place on Friday and it'll push out. And I've just found it happens more quickly that way. If you're doing this on a weekend, it's not going to actually go through in most cases and actually be pushed out to retailers until the following Friday. So just keep that in mind, but it's a fairly simple process. Get your files first, then upload your files, and you shouldn't be offline very long, just on Ingram Spark. Otherwise, you should be good. Let me see, got that one covered. We are going, excuse me, to talk about book funnels. So we had a question on book funnel, a two-pronged question, actually. All right. The question here was about book funnel and what do you do when you're joining book funnel promos, but you feel like you're the one drawing all the traffic or actually doing the most promoting. So those of you who don't know, when you're doing a book funnel promo, the idea is that a bunch of authors get together, they put their book into a promo for free, and then everyone markets it out and tries to get clicks and interest on a promo page to cross promote. And then hopefully the idea is that everyone sends people with an affiliate link or like a tracking link to this one page that has a bunch of books. So let's say it's historical fiction. It's a historical fiction book, and the idea is that if we have 12 books and 12 authors promoting out, that will get a lot of traction. And it works really well. I'm a big fan of group promos. It's a way to expand your reach. It can cost, as little as just a book funnel subscription. Sometimes you can run Facebook ads or something like that to get more traction if you don't have a big following. Which brings me to the question of what happens when you feel like you're the only one promoting or the one really bringing traffic. Because part of these promotions, part of the requirement and what's expected of you, and the reason why you get an individual tracking link is because the person who's running the promotion can see how many people you've driven to that sales page or that download page. So what happens is that they're looking to see how many shares you get, and you start to develop what's known on BookFunnel as a reputation. Your reputation on BookFunnel is where you have your average number of clicks per promotion. So it tells you how many promotions you've been in and how many clicks on average you get per promotion. And sometimes these group promos on BookFunnel will say, you can't join unless you've got a reputation of 100 or higher. Or, we are looking, and if your link doesn't have 50 clicks by the day that you say that you'll share it, then we'll remove you from the promotion. This is to help keep some accountability and to make sure that people are promoting their link in their book, because that's the point. It only works if we all do our part. And for the most part, I think it works well, but there are definitely people who will get more attention, more traffic than others. And it can be frustrating if you're constantly in these promotions and you feel like you're driving traffic when other people aren't. So you have a couple of options in that instance. Number one, you can set up your own promotion. So I've been talking about joining someone else's promotion, where you go, you look through the list and you find one that's romance or historical fiction, or it's nonfiction. You find one that you like and you ask to join that promotion. But you can also set up your own promotion. And when you do that, what's nice about this, when you set up your own promotion, is you can set the standards. You can say, I'm only looking for authors who have a mailing list of 1,000 or more with a reputation of 100 or more. Then when people apply for that promotion to say they'd like to join, you can tell them yes or no. You can see their reputation and see if those are the people you'd like to work with. Now it does mean a little more work for you because you have to set up the promotion and things like that, but BookFunnel does the heavy lifting. But that's one option. The other option is there's something in BookFunnel that is not a group promo, but it is a newsletter swap. So rather than having a group promo where 5, 10, 30, I've seen one with 300 books are all in one promo, you have a newsletter swap. Same idea. You can either post your own swap or you can go and it's like old school, like what were those ads, like Lost Connections or whatever. You can go see who is looking for promotions and see if they're in the same genre and if it's a good fit. And then you can ask to swap a newsletter with them, which means that you each are going to just feature that one book. So if I decide that I would like to swap a newsletter with John, and I'm like, hey, John, you've got a nonfiction book on money management, and I have a nonfiction book on, I don't know, investing wealth or something. So I think that your book would complement mine because yours is all about budgeting and mine is all about what to do with your money once you start to amass it. So I think we could be a good fit. Would you like to swap newsletters with me? Then what happens is we actually give each other a special link and then we agree. I will post about your book on October 24th. You're going to post about my book on October 27th. And then it goes out as a feature on that person's newsletter. So what's nice about this is if it's a good fit, you know exactly where your clicks are coming from. And what's also nice about this is that you can have some really great connections and you can say, I only want to work with people who have a newsletter of 10,000 people or 1,000 people, whatever it may be. So you have a little bit more control and you can also see more directly who's going to be a good partner for you. Now, in some ways, I do think this is a little more work because when you join a group promo, it's really easy to say, hey, here are the free books this month. If you've enjoyed them in the past, click here and grab a free book of your choosing. When you do a newsletter swap, it's one book. So you better, number one, vet that book. You better be proud to put your name with it. And I highly recommend that you at least download it and skim it and make sure that it is a good fit and it's quality that you're willing to actually promote and put in your newsletter. So again, it can be a little more work, but it can also, you're not just going up on a big page, it's a one-to-one swap. So that's an option as well as far as growing your opportunities and making sure that when you're joining features and promotions that you're an equal partner and you're not carrying the weight. Now, sometimes you're just that awesome. Can't help it. You're that awesome. And you are going to be the big driver of traffic because that's the audience that you've built. And sometimes that'll happen. I would ask, are you still getting value out of those swaps? Even if you feel like you're the main person driving traffic, if it's organic traffic and you are not paying for ads and you still feel like you're getting new signups, then that may happen. But also consider if you've been doing promos for a while and you're doing promos with the same title, you may simply be running into, if you're doing a promo every 2 weeks or a promo every week, you may simply be running into hitting the same audience. Essentially the frequency, like people have already downloaded your book. And so it's not that you're the only one promoting and getting clicks and traffic. It may be that you are hitting the same audiences with the same book. And so you've stagnated. So that's something to consider as well. Yep, Joanne says she's got to run. Thank you for joining us. The replay will go up on YouTube. So visit us at youtube.com/New Shelves Books. All of our replays go up there and they go up on Mondays. Takes me a little while to get them up, but you can join on Mondays. Make sure that you subscribe so you'll get updates. Ingram Spark released a new reporting system. I do not have time to cover it today and I have to get into someone's account, but I am going to go over the new reporting system, which is awesome, on Ingram Spark. So make sure that you subscribe and I'll try to get that video up later this week. Thanks for joining us. Quick question from Kate. I need a new critique group. And I've heard this from quite a few people. So what happened is a lot of people had writing groups or groups. I heard this about a bowling group the other day. People had groups of people that they met with either online or in person for writing critique, or they were meeting for editing swaps or beta reading, whatever it may be. And then when things happened in 2020, we all lost our minds, got in our own heads. We started learning how to bake bread and we weren't writing as much. And so in some cases, people are like, hey, I lost my group, or that group's no longer very active. How do I find a new group now that people are meeting again or available again? And there's a couple ways to do that. If you're looking for an online group, I highly recommend you get into some online or Facebook groups and find people who are writing the same genre as you and ask if anyone has a writing or a critique group. Ask if anyone wants to join or start a writing critique group with you. Simply by finding your people, if you put the ask out there, you might be surprised by how many people are also looking for that. Highly recommend that when you do that, you say, look, I have Tuesdays from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern open every week. I would love to find a critique group. Is anyone else willing to do that? Because that way you're kind of putting your parameters and a time and a place on there, and you do it that way. If you are looking for a critique group or a writing group and you'd like to go see them physically, you would like to be able to meet because that's what works for you. Many cities have a local writers group. If you simply search your city and state writers group, I bet one will pop up, or one will pop up close to you. So you can always check there. You can also check your local library and bookstores. Ask if they know of any writers groups, because a lot of them meet at their location. So that's a good way to find them. You can also look, again, I love Google, and I love also just doing searches in Facebook. Go into the Facebook bar, type your city writers group or writing or something like that. It's amazing what you find sometimes. So you can absolutely find them, whether it be in person or online. And then sometimes you make them. Sometimes you simply have to be, just like with Book Funnel and those newsletter swaps, sometimes you have to be the person that says, hey, I want to do this. I can meet at this time. Who's with me? Maybe it starts with 2 people. Maybe it grows. But if it's not there, create it. Be the person who starts it, and just set a time and an intention. Let people know you're going to be there. I've seen this for writing sprints, for critique groups, for beta readers. Finding people who are looking for the same thing you are can be a really great way to connect and really get in that way. Last question I have goes back to Amazon, and the question was, how do I get Amazon reviews to go away? I know that many times we have seen reviews that either aren't our favorite, or reviews that hurt our feelings, or reviews that we just thought weren't true and we'd like to get rid of them. Now, if it is a slanderous review, if it's not about the book and it's someone obviously attacking you, you can report that review to Amazon. It will go under consideration. You can have other people report that review to Amazon and it will go under consideration. Very rarely do they take reviews down, but I have seen it done. There is one review that was left, and it literally was just an attack, a personal attack on the author. It had nothing to do about their book. I don't know what they did to this person, but they did not like them. Amazon did take it down because it was very obviously not about the writing or the book. It was very obvious that it was a personal attack, but very rarely will they take a review down. And honestly, even if it's a review that you don't like, those reviews help give credibility to your book. Having reviews that aren't 5 stars do help make sure that people see both sides of your book. Sometimes people don't like your book, and it's fine. It just wasn't for them. I always, when I'm looking at reviews, I look at the most recent reviews, I look at the top reviews, and I look at the 1-star reviews, because I want to know what bothered these people so badly that they gave it a 1 star. And sometimes I was looking at something the other day, was, I don't know, it was for like socks or something. And there was these like 3 1-star reviews. And I was like, huh, let me see what that's about. Well, it was about the packaging being torn open, which most times happens in shipping. It wasn't, it wasn't the product didn't fit or whatever it was. It was that kind of thing. So in those cases, it's okay. So I wouldn't worry too much about reviews that aren't stellar. They are what they are. Everyone's right to their opinion. That is why Amazon does reviews. It's why they do verified reviews and so on and so forth. So let it go. Don't reply. Don't sit with it. Just know that everyone gets reviews, good and bad. Not everyone has to love your work. It doesn't mean that it's not valid or that you aren't a good writer. It means that you're not for everyone. And we've talked about that before, and that's okay. And then the other question, I see this question over here, and I will answer that in just a minute. The other question with that was, okay, but I have a lot of great reviews. I have newer reviews, I have verified reviews, and the review that keeps showing up on top on my book is a not stellar, not terrible, but not stellar 3-star review, and it keeps showing up on top. How do I get it to not show up on top? This review is 4 years old. I've had newer reviews since, and it keeps showing up on top. Well, if you've ever been on Amazon and you've been looking for reviews, there's this little button that asks if it was helpful. And the reason why certain reviews, oftentimes when verified reviews do way more than other reviews for a book, and there are certain things like that. So verified reviews weigh a little bit more. Sometimes if it's a top reviewer, it weighs a little bit more. What does that mean? It means it's more likely to show up on top. Let me share my screen here, because the other thing that really affects whether or not a review shows up on top, and it's something you won't necessarily see. So like I said, if there is a abusive review that's just slander, you can report abuse. But right next to that is this helpful button. And when you hit the helpful button, it tells the algorithms, this was a helpful review, you should show it to more people. So if you have a review at the top of the pile that maybe isn't your best review, and you're like, why is it still at the top? It's been years, it's not my best, it's not my worst, but it's not my best. Why does it keep showing up? Chances are is that people have been marking it helpful. Now, when you do that and you hit the helpful button, it doesn't show up anymore, at least not that I've seen. It used to show, oh, it does here. One person found this helpful. So check that. Sometimes that's what you'll see, and you'll see that people have been marking it helpful. So what you can do to help combat that is, if it really bothers you, what you can do is you can rally people around you and ask that they go find a review on your book that they find particularly helpful and ask them to rate helpfulness. If you have other reviews that are more positive, that are marked helpful, they will start to show at the top. But again, it's all Amazon algorithms. It's the point of reviews for Amazon is to give credibility for products and to make sure that they're aligning the right product with the right buyer. And that is why that matters. In the end, though, people are going to look at the overall star rating. Most people don't just look at the top review. They look at the most recent. They look at the highest and the lowest. So I get the annoyance of it, but that is something that, don't let yourself get hung up on it. It is something that you really can't control it. So better to just keep on working to get new and positive reviews and keep writing and keep moving on. But if it bothers you that much, that is one thing that you can kind of do to help diversify what shows up on top. And then we have a question here. How do you handle Amazon not posting reviews because they say it's not appropriate? This is a fellow author who wrote a children's book on the Holocaust. So Amazon does not like the word Nazi, for example. What can that author do? So there are a couple things. Sometimes Amazon, and again, this is not Jim in the office going, nah, not going to take that review. Yep, this one goes. Nah, yeah, okay, this one goes. That one doesn't go. That's not what's happening. It's a bot who literally is scanning for certain words that are considered offensive, derogatory, anything like that. And so it's simply a bot. And once you put in a review, you can't ask that your review be reviewed or anything like that. And if there is something, sometimes Amazon won't post a review because they feel like the person writing that review has a personal gain in it. Like, you can't write a review on your own book. If they verify, if their bots see that you and this person are Facebook friends, they may keep them from writing a review. Because that's all, again, a part of them trying to make sure that they have credible reviews. So sometimes it will just happen. And I would say just highly encourage that people use other words. When asking for reviews, I would specifically say, this book is on the Holocaust, and I would love to make sure that we're getting reviews for this and making sure that it is, that they are being seen so that people know what a great book this is. However, because the term Nazi is considered offensive, it is often blocked. So when writing your review, if you could not use that specific word, that would be very helpful. Now, that helps for the people you know, but for the people you don't, it doesn't, and it stinks. But it's just one of those things. And I think we do run into that sometimes, and sometimes the bots get it and sometimes the bots don't. It's one of those things that you can only do what you can do, and there's no way to like appeal whether or not Amazon posts a review. And if they take a review down, it's down for good. It's not saved anywhere. It's never going back up. I think that's it just is what it is. But when asking for reviews, you can certainly mention that. Because of the history, and because of Nazis not necessarily being our brightest point in history, it can often get flagged, and that can often flag the book. And because this is a teachable moment, this is historical, it's not meant derogatory. If you could keep that out of your review, or that wording out of your review, I would appreciate it. So that's kind of the best you can do there. Fantastic. All right. I've had reviews not marked as verified, but they had bought a book. I've emailed Amazon about it, but they're not offering help. They're not gonna. Any tips? So the question is, where did they buy a book? Did they buy a book on pre-order when it went through Ingram Spark and not directly through Amazon? Sometimes those don't get marked as verified. Was it a book read on Kindle Unlimited? Sometimes those don't get marked as verified. I know yours isn't, but sometimes there are different things, and sometimes it just doesn't get marked. And again, Amazon's kind of like, least of our worries, move along, and they're really not going to do much about it. It stinks, but again, it's their playground, so what are you going to do? But don't let that hold you back. Verified reviews are important, but also having reviews overall are important. When looking at reviews, most of the time, the average person buying something is not looking for verified reviews. They don't even necessarily know what that means. The reason why we as authors and publishers think verified reviews are so important is because we know they have more weight. They show up at the top more. They can kind of affect your algorithms and things like that. So that's why we care, but the average buyer doesn't even know the difference. So don't let it worry you too very much. All right, you guys, it's 11 o'clock, so we're going to hop off. Again, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, go subscribe. It's just New Shelves Books on YouTube. I'm going to try my hardest to get up a new video showing the Ingram Spark reporting update. It is super cool, and I'm in love with this new reporting system. So I'm going to try to get a video up of what that new Ingram Spark dashboard and reporting system looks like, so you all can see it. And I'll try to get that up this week, as well as the replay for Free Advice Friday will go up on Monday. Thanks for joining us. If you have questions, if you want to talk about something next week, just email me, info@newshelves.com, and we'll tackle it then. Bye, you guys. Have an awesome weekend.